Top talent won't wait around. In this video, I'll show you how to use Asana to fast track your hiring process before you lose them. Hello, my name is Paul Miners. Welcome back to another one of our Asana training videos. Now, when you're trying to hire someone to fill a role, there's lots of different moving parts to manage. There's the job posting to create, there's applicants to review, interviews to schedule, and then ultimately you need to make a decision fairly quickly before somebody that you want to hire takes a position elsewhere. If you don't have a good system for managing your applicants right now, maybe you're just kind of working in your inbox, then it's very easy for your hiring process to break down. You have a job listing somewhere like Upwork, you've got CVs in your email, somebody has sent you details that maybe you've put in a spreadsheet, and if you're not careful, everything can get quite messy, and it's also difficult for managers or business owners to see where are you at in the hiring process and who are all the applicants we need to review. Now, rather than having to use a completely different piece of HR software, if you already use Asana, we can set up a fairly simple applicant tracking process very quickly. Now, this is going to be a really good video to watch if you're new to Asana because it's going to show you how multiple features like forms, custom fields, and rules can all be customized to help you manage a process like hiring a lot easier. And what I'm going to show you in this video, you can also apply the same ideas to other processes and use cases in your business. If you have any questions at the end of this video, please leave me a comment down below. And if you'd like one-on-one help with setting up or optimizing Asana for your business, maybe doing some training for your team, then click the link in the description to book an introductory call with our team to learn more about our Asana consulting and support options. Make sure you hang around to the end of the video where I'll show you a useful tip that's going to make it really quick and easy to duplicate this entire process ready for the next time you need to hire someone for a new role. Now, to get started, the first thing I'm going to do is create a new project. So I'm going to come up here to the Create button, Start a New Project, and I'm just going to start a blank project for now. And I'm going to use a project for every role that I'm hiring for. So I'll just put a role here for now. I don't know what role I'm hiring for yet. And I'll call this Applicant Tracking. And we'll continue this. I'm going to use I don't need a timeline view or a dashboard. In fact, I'm just going to use the list and board layouts for this particular project. And so here's my blank project that I can now start to build out and customize. Now, I'm going to start by creating some sections to track the different phases or stages that an applicant can go through. Now, your stages or sections may be slightly different, but I'm going to start with new applicants or new applications. I'm going to have a section for interviews to schedule. So after I've reviewed the application, if I like the application, I'll put them into interviews to schedule. Then we're going to have scheduled interviews. So these are people we are now planning to talk to. And then once we've talked to them, we're going to rate them. We're either going to put them on our shortlist or we're going to have rejected applicants if we don't like them. And then finally, we'll have winning applicant down here. So those stages are going to allow me to very quickly visualize what are all the different applications we have in progress and where are they at in this journey. Now I can either keep working in this list view like this, or I can switch to the board view. Let's get rid of that untitled section. And so now I can work in this sort of Kanban layout if I prefer. There's not too much benefit either way. They're pretty similar views. So I'm going to time travel into the future now, and I'm going to do all the customization for this project, and then I'll explain to you what I've done. So here's my fully built out project now. I've set up custom fields, forms, and rules that are going to help me to manage my applicants really quickly. So let me explain everything I've done. So firstly, if we look at one of these tasks here, I'm using an individual task for each applicant that is applying for the role. And so you can see I've got the name of the person and their email as the task name. And I've set up custom fields to track key information about this applicant. So their name, email, phone number. I want them to tell me what tools are they proficient in. So I've got a drop-down menu where I can kind of tag their skill set. I've got a date field here for tracking when are we going to have an interview with this person. And finally, I've got a score field. This is where I can score the applicant after we've completed the interview. Now, custom fields are set up in the Customize menu here. If you come to Fields, this is where I've created all of those. Now, if you haven't used custom fields in Asana before, I'm going to link up here a video that I made a little while ago that explains how to customize a project. But to talk you through some of these briefly, you can, well, to add a new field, you can simply create a new field from here, give it a name. So let's say I want to add a field for time at last company. I could have this be a single select field, a multi-select, date, text, number field. I'm just going to have this be a text field so they can type in whatever they want, and I can create that field. And now that field appears on every single one of the tasks in this project. So creating custom fields is very straightforward, and I've got things like a multi-option field here for what skills they have, and a single option field here which I can use to score the applicant after the interview. So those are my fields. Now, to get applicants to actually apply for the role, I'm going to have them do that by filling in an online form. And this is one of the other features that we have in the Customize menu. Now, you can create a form by clicking the Add button here. You can create all the questions you need them to fill in. Let me, in the interest of time, show you this one that I created earlier. So at the top here, I've just said this is the role application form. So maybe like marketing director application form. I can put in a job description up here where they can read a little bit about the job. Name and email address are standard required fields. I've also created a phone number field here, so you can simply add a new question. Let's put one in here. Let's just say date of birth. Give that a name, and I can choose what type of field is this. So I would use a date field for date of birth, and I can choose single or date range, and I can specify if I want this to be required or not. Oh, and I need to give that a name. So building out my form is simple as just dragging in those questions. I've asked for things like employment history, why do you want to work with us, what are your skills, what do you enjoy doing in your personal time? And with a question like this one, you can see what I've done here is I've mapped this field to the custom field that I created earlier. So this tools field, I have mapped. That way, when they fill in and choose their skills, it's automatically going to populate this custom field here. So the form's all connected to those fields. Now, once I'm happy with my questions, I'm going to come over to the settings here, and this is where I can choose what do I want to have happen to the task that gets created in Asana when somebody fills this in. So a task is going to be created and it's going to be put into the new applications section. The task will be assigned to me. I'm the business owner or I'm the head of HR. I'm going to be the one reviewing these applications. And you can see I've applied a naming convention. So the task that gets created will be named with the person's name and their email address. And I've also put in a custom message here. So thank you for your application. Once we've reviewed your application, we will be in touch to discuss next steps. Now to share this form, I can click up here. Here are some sharing options. I can send this via email, or what I usually do is I just copy this link. I can now email this to somebody. And I also have options down here to embed this form. If I want to put this on my website, I can copy this HTML, put it on my website, and actually have that embedded form on my website. What processes or use cases are you thinking of using Asana for? Leave me a comment down below and I'll respond to let you know if I think that's a good idea. And if it's popular enough, I'll make a video about it. Next, I'm going to show you some rules that I've created that is going to help me really streamline this applicant tracking process. But before I show you that, let me just show you what filling in that form would look like and how that creates the new task in Asana. So I'll just go back to my form, copy that link, and I can open that in a new tab. I've actually got it ready, filled in here. So this is the form I would put in on my job posting or have available on my website. It's been filled in by Jack Sparrow, email, phone number, employment history here, 5 years captain of the Black Pearl. Why do you want to work at Mineco? I've been traveling a lot, would like more stability. I hear Mineco has great remote work options, which we do. Which tools and apps do you have experience with? Pipedrive. And what do you enjoy doing in your personal time? Rum. Okay, so we're going to submit that now. Jack has filled in the application form, and that's going to create a new task in our project. So here it is. We've got all the details that Jack has provided, and I can review the application details and the information that he has provided. Now, let me talk you through the rules that I've created that are going to allow me to really easily keep on top of all these different applicants. And if you haven't used rules in Asana before, I do have a more detailed video which I'll link up here. If you want to learn how to get started with rules, I would definitely recommend checking out that video first. Now, the first rule I've created, I've set up a trigger where when a task, I've used the task is added to this project trigger, and I'm triggering off of form submissions from the application form that I've created. So any new task created by that form triggers this rule. And then I'm performing these two actions. So the first thing I'm doing is I'm setting the task type to approval. So you'll find that action down here, create approvals. So I'm setting this as an approval. That's going to give me some options. I can then either approve or reject the task or the applicant. That's going to be really useful. And I've got an action here to create subtasks. So again, I just click on my actions and I've got a create subtask action here. Now, I've created a subtask which is called review application. This is going to be assigned to me, Paul, and the date is the trigger date. So today's date. So I want to review this application today because as soon as the application comes in, I want to review it. So I'm jumping on it quickly. If it's a good candidate, we want to snap them up. So those are my first two actions. And now you can see here, this task, actually if I show you in the change log, we can see the rules have run already in the change log, and I've got the approval options up here. I can approve the applicant, request changes, which I wouldn't really use for hiring, or I can reject them. And you can see a subtask has been created for me, Paul, due today, to review the application. So I would then read that now, I would check off my subtask, and then I'm going to choose whether I approve the applicant or reject them. Now that will trigger my next rule. So this rule, there's a bit more going on. This one is triggered when the approval status has changed. And then I've got two different paths with two different sort of conditional logic sets of actions that can happen. So the first check is if the approval has changed to approved, we're going to move the task to the interviews to schedule section. So I'm going to move it down automatically. And then I'm going to create a subtask, again, assigned to myself to schedule the interview. So we're going to call the applicant, we're going to get them to book. The other path here is if I reject the applicant, we go down this set of actions, we move the task to the rejected applicants section, and this part's really cool. I can automate sending an email. So when you go to your actions, if you click on external actions here, I use Google, so we're going to use this option, but if you use Outlook, you can send an email from your Microsoft account. And so this allows me to email the applicant. Now, this is the really clever part, which is you can use the custom fields that we set up earlier to populate the email. So for the to field, who are we actually emailing, you can go to custom fields and then I can pull in the person's email address. So that's how Asana knows who to email. And you can see I've also populated the person's name in the subject and the body of the email. So just by, again, pulling in those custom fields that I set up earlier. So those are my first two rules. So let me show you each of those happening now. So let's say Jack, you know what? Not quite the experience we're looking for. Sorry, Jack, you have been rejected. So that's going to automatically move the task down to the rejected application section, and it's going to trigger an email that goes to Jack to say, hey, thanks, sorry, we're not going to proceed. Or the other option is we can approve the application. That's going to run my rule, and it's going to go down the other path, and now we've moved this task to the interviews to schedule section, and you can see I've got a subtask for myself now. I need to schedule this interview. So now I would get on the phone, I can see his phone number there, I can call up Jack, and we can schedule the interview. So I'll mark that subtask as done. That brings me to my third rule. So let's look here. This one is being triggered when the interview date field has changed. So this is simply, because I've got that interview date as a custom field, when that's changed, that is my trigger. And then I am performing a couple more actions. I am going to move this to the scheduled interviews section, and I'm going to create a new subtask again for myself, which is, if I click into here, this is where I could put all my interview questions and type my notes. So I'd have those already ready to go. So during the interview, I can just bring up this subtask. I can ask those questions. And what I've done here for the due date, let me just clear this for a second, is I've used the interview date custom field as my due date for this task. So you can set that just by clicking in the date field and pull in your custom field. And so now if I schedule this for Friday, the subtask here will be due on Friday. So let me show you that in progress. So I talked to Jack on the phone and he says, I can chat to you on Monday. So I put my interview date in here. So we're going to chat on Monday. The task moves down to the scheduled interviews section, and my interview questions and notes subtask is ready, and you can see the due date of that subtask has been set for Monday as well. Great, cool. So without having to touch anything, all we need to do is update the date field, the task moves to the correct section, and action steps are assigned to me or other relevant people on the team. So next step, we do the interview. I mark my subtask as done. And what we're going to do is we're going to give the applicant a score. I'm going to rate them 1 to 5. And inputting a score is going to trigger my final rule. So this one, the trigger here is when the interview score has changed. So if I show you the triggers here, the custom field down here, so when that's changed, we are going to, again, perform different actions based on the output. So the first is, I've got to check here, if the field is if it's a 4 or a 5 star, we only really want to hire a 4 or a 5 star person, then we're going to move the task to our shortlist. Otherwise, if they are a 1, 2, or a 3, they're probably not a good fit for us. We're going to move the task to rejected applicants, and again, we're going to send our rejection email. So, showing you that in progress one more time. So we interviewed Jack. Actually, Jack surprised me. He seems pretty good. He's 4 stars. So I put my interview score in there, and he moves down to our shortlist. And so those are some very simple rules that allow me to very quickly update our applicants, send emails if they haven't been, if we're not going to proceed, and my boss or the business owner can watch this project to keep up to date with where we are at. My final step would be to review the shortlist, and then I will pick someone. So let's say, you know what, Jack, let's give you a chance. We're gonna give you a shot here. I'm gonna put him down into the winning applicant section down here, and so now we can keep track of where everyone was at. Who did we ultimately go with for this role? And actually, I could do a further automation here. When I move the task down into that section, maybe that creates, I don't have that ready, but maybe that kicks off some onboarding tasks, for example, getting a contract signed and so on. Now, I mentioned earlier, there's an easy way to duplicate this entire process ready for when we're going to hire for another role. And to do that, we're going to turn this project into a template. Now, to do that, you're going to come up to the project menu and we're going to choose Save as Template. However, before we do that, I just need to edit my rules slightly. I just did this before in my first take, and I realized that this rule here didn't save, and I think it's because there's this send email action. So for whatever reason, when you save it as a template, Asana doesn't like that part of the rule, so it's just a limitation, I guess. So I'm just going to remove that action from these 2 rules. We'll delete that one there. So it just means that when I use my template, I am going to have to add those action steps to the rules later on. But now I can save this as a template. I'm going to keep that naming convention now, and when I set up a new project, I'll just change in the role that I'm hiring for, and I'm going to create my template. And so Asana is going to save the project, it's going to keep all the sections, and more importantly, it's going to save all that hard work, all the customization that I've done. So if I go to my Customize menu, I can see my 4 rules. Yep, they've saved properly now. Don't know why, but you can't save the rules with that email action. I've got my form there ready to go, and all my fields for name and so on ready to go as well. So that's great. So now when I want to hire for a new role, I can click my Create button, start a new project, but instead of starting from a blank project this time, I'll use my template and we'll go to my applicant tracking template. We're going to use this and we'll give it a name. So we'll say Marketing Director, create my project, and now I've got a project for this particular hiring process for this role. All my sections get set up. Let's switch to the list view there. My customization with my fields are ready to go. I might change some of these maybe for this particular role. Maybe there's some additional fields that I need to swap out. And if I go to my form, again, I'll change the form. So I'll put in the new job description in here. I might change some of these questions for this new particular role, but saving this as a template will save me a ton of time, and it means I'm consistent as well. When I go through this hiring process again next time, I'm following the same process. I'm not having to reinvent the wheel, and yeah, nice little time-saving hack there. I hope you found this video useful. The features that I showed you there, customizing fields, creating forms, and using rules, you can apply the same ideas to other processes and use cases in your business. For example, employee onboarding, or if you're a design agency and you need to manage requests from clients, or maybe you need to manage bug tracking and programming and development requests, things like that. You can have different projects for different types of workflows using the same ideas. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment down below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.